I think it's real pertaining to this coronavirus. And unless they come up with an antidote, some sort of vaccine, I think we liable not seen nothing yet compared to what we gonna see this fall and this winter.
Well, when they talk on TV, they get pretty close to a vaccine. But you don't know, it may be 2-3 months to get enough to vaccinate the people.
The thing about the vaccine is, it ain't just a matter of getting something that'll attack the virus, it's getting something that the majority of the people won't get sick from. In other words,
it's got to be safe for the people. They won't put it out.
That's what I'm saying.
They got 30,000 people taking shots to see what it's doing.
It's like guinea pigs.
That's just one drug company.
Yeah, that's just like guinea pigs. But the reason why that I wanted to come over here, and forgive me, I've forgotten your name.
Yates, Jerry Yates.
Who?
Jerry Yates.
Gary?
Jerry.
Gary?
J-E-R-R-Y, Jerry.
Darren. Mr. Darren, you remember the other day whenever I was here talking to you? I was in the process towards trying to do a YouTube recording because I was filming that. And if you don't mind, I'd like to record this conversation too as well. I want to keep you discreet as far as not showing your face. Is that all right?
I don't know. I don't know about you. I ain't got no computer. I don't have nothing to do with those damn things.
With the Facebook and all that other stuff.
I don't got a computer. I don't fool with it. I ain't got that.
Well, I don't want to take a picture of you, and I don't want to reveal where you live, okay? But the other day, whenever I was here, I left, and I went up to this little church up here. What's the name of it? The one right up the road.
Christian Chapel.
Christian Chapel. And I sat there for about 10 minutes waiting to see if I could get a dialogue, a good hit, coming off of that main tower over there by the Sandersons, because the closer the tower, the stronger the hit, the less time it takes to be able to put something on YouTube. I sat there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't think nothing in the world of it because I do it quite frequently, and if I'm not sitting there, I'll sit in front of the bank, or I'll sit at the grocery store, or I'll sit just at the side of the road towards doing tech work, taking care of digital tech work. You see guys that's working the mail a lot, UPS and FedEx, you see them quite a bit pull over on the side of the road, and they'll be thumping around on their computer because you can't drive, or you're not supposed to drive and do tech work too at the same time. Matter of fact, you're not even supposed to drive and talk on your telephone, much less do tech work.
Yeah, you ain't supposed to do that. Takes attention away from driving.
It's a distraction. But neither nor are you supposed to go down the road with a cheeseburger in your hand either.
No.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
People don't realize that in the state of Tennessee. But they just passed a new law at the first of the year. I think it was first of the year. They passed a daggone many. I can't keep up with them all. But they passed a new law this year, I think it was this year, to where you cannot talk and drive, and you for darn sure can't text and drive, because it's a hazard. But I sat up there at that church, and as soon as I left that church, I went back towards the Macedonian church over here, where the big area antenna is, going back towards Sanderson's, and I seen a silver Dodge truck pull out of the driveway just across from the road where I was parked there at this first church. And I seen him, man, he was gun-hoing. And I could tell, because it's a pretty good stretch before you get to that next corner, I could tell whoever the heck this was, he had the pedal to the metal. Well, by the time I get up there to that corner, and of course you got two corners before you get to the church, he'd done already caught up with me on that second corner. And I hurried up and pulled over at the driveway there at the Macedonian church to get out of his way because he was in that big of a hurry. And I didn't know if maybe there was an accident or something. You don't never know. Somebody may have gotten cut, or somebody may be heading to the emergency room because of a heart attack or something. But I'll be darned if he didn't pull right up in behind me trying to corner me off. And I rolled down my window. I said, "Sir, can I help you?" And it was a young kid. You may know who he is. I don't know him from Adam.
I don't know either.
Right across from the church, this first church up here.
I don't say rented that house out. I don't know who lives up there.
Well, something must be wrong with them as far as I'm concerned, because they wound up calling the police out here on me. But I asked him, I said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "Well, you ain't out here scouting around, are you, towards wanting to steal a bunch of stuff?" I said, "No, sir." I said, "I'm doing tech work with my computer, and I live just right across the bottom over in Hop End, which would give or take about 7-8 miles. Well, he got all mouthy and told me that I needed to leave, get the you-know-what out of the neighborhood. Well, he went ahead and backed up, and I went ahead and pulled up. I pulled up around the driveway, or there in the parking lot there at that second church, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, something really freaked this guy out to the point that he was running me down kind of like a vigilante militia type setting towards basically taking the law into his own hands, like he was the neighborhood watch or something. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't say nothing about it because I didn't think no more about it. But now, before I come up here, I'd had a conversation with you about Miss Ethel across the field over there. And I didn't tell you the whole conversation that I had with her. I only told you bits and pieces, or I don't think that I did, but her son-in-law, or future son-in-law, that's attached to the girl that's going through the chemotherapy, he told me for me not to never pull back up out there again. And if I did, he was going to blow my head off. Did I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did mention that to you. Well, the old woman has approached me 3 different times, and I haven't known them over there but about a month. I pulled down that road accidentally about a month ago, not knowing where it went or how many people lived down the road. And I drove all the way down to the road, to the end of the road, and I sat there for a minute, and I seen a guy standing out on the front of the porch, and he looked at me kind of funny, and then he walked back in the house. But whenever he walked back in the house, all these dogs come out. Well, I'm not going to get out of a vehicle with a bunch of dogs that I'm not aware of. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, obviously he didn't like me, or he didn't like me sitting in his driveway, so he's called the dogs on me. So I'm attempting to put my vehicle in reverse and back on out, and I was going to turn around, and that was going to be the end of it. Well, he pops back out of the porch. He waves for me, "Come on back over here." And we got to talking. I go, "Sir, I thought that I was unwelcome here." He said, "No, I've had some problems with some people over here that was driving a car similar to yours, and I didn't recognize who was driving it, and I went inside to grab my pistol real quick." I said, "Well, I don't have a problem in a man protecting himself or wanting to protect himself, but I promise you I ain't got no means of wanting to hurt nobody." And he welcomed for me to come in. We drank tea, talked for 2 or 3 hours. I got to meet Ethel. Ethel knew a lot of my people pertaining to the Jacksons, because originally she was born here and she was reared up here, and then whenever she got married, she went up north, and then she moved back here, I think in 96, and her husband just recently died about 4 years ago. She's the one that just got through selling that 100-something acres and got over $1 million for it. Well, I remember you telling me the other day about the other boy that's associated with the other girl, in regards to that if there's any money involved, he can smell it. Now, I don't know who you was implying and don't even want to know. Because I could care less about the money situation, but obviously somebody else does. If you'll listen to the rest of my story. After that boy done what he done out here, after I'd already been at your house, I decided to drive up this road by where Billy Holman used to live, and back around over there where the mayor lives, that's got all the sweet potatoes and the corn and the tomatoes and stuff. And then I drove back around, going to get back on the same road, and I noticed a deputy got in behind me, an Obion County deputy. Well, I didn't think nothing about it at first, but I thought, what if that boy wound up calling the police? Not thinking that he would, but I said, what if? So I was pretty close to your driveway, and I went ahead and cut down your driveway real quick, and the cop kept going on. So because the cop kept going on, I'm thinking to myself, well, obviously he must not be looking for me, because if he did, he would have pulled off in this driveway. He would have known what my vehicle was, and he would have pulled off in behind me in this driveway. So I went ahead and turned around right down there on the lower end where the boat is, and got back on the road and headed back towards the church, and I bumped into him again. Well, this time he did turn around, and this time he did get right on my bumper. And he followed me all the way back up to Macedonian Church. And you know where that road is right to the right of it, towards going back to the main road, like going on Mason Hall Road? I realized that he was right on my bumper. Wasn't no ifs, ands, buts about it. He didn't have no blue lights on, but I realized that he was dog-tailing me. He was bird-dogging me.
He checking your license number.
He was probably calling my license number in, is what he was doing. Well, I went ahead and promptly pulled over on the side of the road, hit my emergency flashers, and just sat there. Well, while I'm sitting there, sure enough, he's talking you can see him talking on the phone, but he never hit his blue lights, talking on the phone. He gets out, he comes over there where I'm at. He goes, I've had a call in about you. I go, you have? I go, what have you had a call in about me about? Well, you're out here doing something or making a nuisance. He said, making a nuisance out of yourself or something like that. I said, sir, I'm up here trying to do a documentary off of my YouTube channel, and that tower up there next to the Macedonian Church over there by the Sandersons is real close, and I get a direct link, and getting a direct link, you can get it out real quick. You can document it and put it on your platform. He said, well, I got to check you out anyways. About that time, another deputy pulled up. He wanted my driver's license. Handed him my driver's license. They checked me out, come to find out the second deputy pulled up there, he knew me from Union City, Obion County Sheriff's Department. He goes, Juby, what in the world are you doing up here? Well, I explained to him about what I was doing, plus I explained to him about the vehicle that got in behind my bumper, the silver truck. And I go, that wasn't right. I go, you can't take the law into your own hands just because you got somebody sitting out here in a parking lot. I said, it'd be different if I was in his driveway and he didn't like it. I go, the only way that he can reject towards me sitting up there at that church is to call up somebody that goes to that church or somebody that's head of that church and have somebody at the church say, no, we don't want him sitting up there in our driveway or in our parking lot. Run him off. And of course, if that be the case, I'd have to leave. If they tell you to go, you got to go.
Yeah.
If you're not welcome, you're not welcome. But that wasn't the case. The boy didn't handle it that way. The boy took it upon his own self towards going to run me down and tell me how the cow was going to eat the cabbage. And it just about peed me off, but I didn't get ill with him because I'm a Christian man. But I am going to say something that I don't want to say because I don't want to be spreading miscellaneous or mischievous gossip on somebody that could possibly not be right. I went ahead and told the officers that I'd had a conflict up here at this house pertaining to Sister Ethel, and her son-in-law threatened to blow my brains out if I so much as pulled up in the driveway. I said, now, according to Ethel, she's already had the police out there twice today, and she wants them gone. Well, you know what? He verified it. He said, that's right. He said, we have been out there twice today. She's filling out some sort of restraining order on him because she don't want him up there. I go, well, the man threatened my life. And I go, I haven't done nothing to him. I go, matter of fact, Sister Ethel is scared of him because I said something to her and she made a statement which was, well, I've got a gun too, and if I can get them before they get me, that'll be different. In other words, she let me know a visit or two, a week or two ago, that she felt like that her life was in danger. Well, with her being that old, she's in pretty good health to be that old. But with her being that old, you have a tendency of letting something like that roll off your back because the older you get, the more prone you are of having dementia or having other problems towards being paranoid, thinking that everybody's out to get you or whatever. And I just at first just let it roll off my back towards thinking, it ain't nothing to that. But then whenever somebody verifies it towards telling you that they're going to blow your head off, and you hadn't done nothing to justify that type of resistance, I'm beginning to wonder, wow, maybe she is in there living with somebody that she don't want to be in there with. Well, I told the officers what had occurred. They verified it. They had me my driver's license, and I had all my paperwork and stuff in order, in which it's a good thing, because if I didn't, I could have possibly went to jail or got a big fine or something.
Yeah, you got a ticket if you didn't have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whenever they check you out like that, you better have all your P's and Q's. So that boy could have actually thrown a burden onto my life if I wasn't legally bonded towards being able to drive. But I know that I am, and I know that I'm not doing nothing wrong. I'm not out here breaking no laws. I'm not out here committing a crime. If anybody committed the crime, it was the boy across the road in the silver truck towards running me down. You don't have a right to run one pedestrian, run another pedestrian down just because you've seen him parked over on the side of the road somewhere and he looks suspicious. Well, everybody's suspicious. Everything's suspicious. We live in a suspicious world right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, I left, cops left, and what the cops done, I don't know. I went ahead and done my thing. And I went on home and I prayed about it and I thought about it. And I thought, well, I'm going to call her tomorrow. And I'm going to talk to her and find out if that boy wound up leaving and going back to Nashville. I guess that's where his people was originally from or something pertaining to the girl that was going through the chemo. Well, I called about 11 o'clock. I called Sister Ethel. She answered the phone. Now, since then, she hasn't answered the phone. But you know where she answered the phone at? In Jackson General. She said that she was in the hospital. I said, well, Sister Ethel, what in the world are you doing in the hospital? She said, well, I got up last night about 2 o'clock. I had to use the bathroom, and I was going to check on the dogs. And as soon as I went out my door, there was a bunch of dog food that got spilt. And I hit the dog food and lost my balance and I fell. And they're scheduling for me an operation towards getting my hip, some sort of a big rod put in my hip. She said all that occurred last night about 2 o'clock. She said while I was laying on the floor screaming and hollering, she said just 2 doors down is where my son-in-law and my daughter stays all night at. And they was staying in the room because they didn't leave yet. And I was screaming and hollering for an hour or so, and they never did come out to the hallway. So she said I had to call a friend, and the friend come out here and opened up the door and checked on them. And as soon as the friend realized what the situation was, the friend dialed 911 and had an ambulance come out here and pick her up. I hung up the phone and it hit me just like a bolt of lightning. What if that dog food that was spilt right there by her door got spilt intentionally, so that whenever she walked out of the door, knowing her schedule that she usually gets up to use the bathroom or something, that she would have hit all that dog food and purposely fell. You know, whenever you get the older that you become, the more crucial it is towards trying to remain safe as far as not having a major injury, because your metabolism goes way down and you can have a little injury that turns into a big ordeal, and the next thing you know, it's gotten infected, and the next thing you know, you're dead.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the old gray mare, she just ain't what she used to be. I didn't question her about the dog food. A matter of fact, she was in a hurry towards hurrying up and hanging up because they was in the process, I guess, fixing to operate on her. But I felt like that I needed to come by here and let you know that anytime there's big money and anytime there's more than one or two parties, there could always be some malice behavior going on towards trying to squeeze the old woman for everything she's worth.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, she already had money way before then. She didn't have that kind of money, but she wasn't hurting because her husband worked up there in Illinois working for the electric company for the union. And I think it wasn't nothing for him to make about $50 an hour plus time and a half. And I guess whenever she retired off of his retirement, and she's probably drawing $4,000 or $5,000 a month just off him.
They had the house up there they had at Rockford, Illinois. I think he told me it brought $1 million when he sold it.
Probably.
So he come down there and he bought a lot of property, houses, and rented them out.
Yeah.
About that place, this place over here, and I don't know how many places. He
So
bought.
they wasn't hurting.
No.
They wasn't hurting. And she's got that one daughter that lives in that trailer right in behind the house. I don't know if that girl's married to the boy, the boy that you mentioned about him being money hungry and smelling money. And then that other one that come in from Nashville, but the one that come in from Nashville is a Russian. He's a big old boy. But I just wanted to let you know, stop up here and let you know that the devil was working the day that I was up here towards some things going on that wasn't right. And I may not never talk to you or see you again. In which if I don't, that's fine. But I just thought with you living right up here up underneath them, within almost a stone's throw from them, you probably needed to know what was going on over there, because I done already stopped. We done already talked about it a little bit. Well, now I'm telling you, kind of like Paul Harvey, now I'm telling you the rest of the story. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you the rest of the story. And whenever I was here the other day, I had no idea that I was fixing to be involved with the police, just simply because I pulled up at a church parking lot for 10 minutes. So they must be all schizophrenics or paranoid around here. Now, the two cops, the two deputies that pulled me over and talked to me, checked me out, they go, there's been a lot of theftery going on around here. People stealing and people breaking into people's homes and stuff around here. I said, well, sir, I don't know nothing about all that.
I don't either. I don't know of anybody that had anything stolen.
Well, that's what the cops said, and they was trying to justify that was probably the reason why the boy called the police on somebody sitting out there in the parking lot. Does people not sit out? Is a parking lot not supposed to be for cars to park in? Sure it is. It'd been different if I was out there screaming and hollering, or if I was out there running around the car naked, or if I was shooting a gun or doing something crazy out there in the park. And I only sat there for like 10 minutes. I sat there long enough for me to check off what I needed to check off with my computer. But I thought I would come back by here and let you know that as far as I'm concerned, these kids that has done these drugs, It's messed them up.
Yeah.
It's messed them up, and some of them, they may still be involved in drugs, or some of them maybe need to be on drugs. I don't know. But to be that paranoid, and for some Fruit Loop out of the blue to tell me I wasn't welcome to come back down that driveway, he must suspect something pertaining to his mother-in-law or his future mother-in-law, and me had already done talked, and he didn't want me in the way, and that's the reason why he was saying, if you come back down this road, I'll blow your head off. Now, I don't know if he meant it or not, but whether or not you mean it or not, you shouldn't advertise it.
I wouldn't push him. Man, tell me that, I'd probably stay away.
Well, I mean, even if Sister Ethel was to call me, if she was, because she's got my number too, if she was to call me and say, Dennis, I need for you to come up here. Because of what has been said and because of what has happened, I would be forced to engage in contacting a deputy and saying, look here, Sister Ethel wants me to go out there at her house. This, and this has already happened. And because it's already happened, I'm going to feel very leery about going out there, uncomfortable about going out there. Would you send a deputy out there so me and the deputy both could check on Sister Ethel? Now, if she called me, I would do that for her. And I don't know her from Adam, other than me meeting her about a month ago. But she's obviously very, very concerned. Something is going on within those four walls that she disagrees with or feels uncomfortable about. For her to make a statement the other day, this was like a week or so ago, well, I'll get them before they get me. I got a gun too. But once more, at first I played it off like, well, she's just old. She's just gotten worried. She's a little bit senile. She's probably a little bit paranoid. And she probably don't mean nothing by it. You know, because you can't take everybody literally whenever they say something like that. If you did, they'd run you to death. Because a lot of people say a lot of things that they don't mean whenever you're talking about loved ones. Especially if they're living under the same roof. You know how people are. So I kind of, let it go in one ear and out the other. But whenever I found out on the telephone call that now she's in a hospital with a broken hip, and I'm putting all these dots together, I'm thinking to myself, maybe Sister Ethel wasn't senile. Maybe she didn't have dementia. Maybe that dog food was placed there intentionally so that she would slip and fall. And then again, there's always a possibility that the dogs built it. You know how dogs are. They'll pick up their bowl and they'll take it over there, and go through their dog food or whatever. It's 50-50. It could be just as strongly as it was intentionally as it wasn't intentionally. And of course, you know as well as I do, if somebody was to question them, they're going to say, oh, no, we didn't have nothing to do with that. No, who do you think we are? We ain't going to do nothing like that to Mama.
Yeah. They have to deny everything.
They deny everything, you know that. But it just goes to show you, whenever you're talking about money and you're talking about people getting hard up, times getting hard, I don't think we've seen nothing yet in comparison to what's fixing to happen. All these people losing their jobs, losing their insurance, losing their unemployment. They don't have nowhere to sleep. I mean, whenever things get desperate, people get desperate.
That's right. A hungry man do more than anybody.
That's right.
He'll do stuff he wouldn't do if he wasn't hungry.
That's right. Or a selfish man. A greedy man.
Yeah. But a hungry man will make a good man do things.
Sure will.
If his family is hungry, he'll do things he wouldn't even think about doing.
Yes, sir, he will.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I'm afraid that may very well happen this fall. So my advice to you, in which I know why you got the door open, is to let your building air out. But my advice to you is to keep everything locked down, shut down, tied down. I got cameras out at my place. It got so bad of them coming out there wanting to vandalize my property that I put up a camera security system out there. Actually, I've got more than just one camera out there. But it's pretty bad living in the country, living in a setting that at one time everybody knowed everybody and everybody could trust everybody, to the point that now we're having to walk around with all types of artillery and cameras and everything else just to protect their assets.
Yeah.
And I'm just afraid come this fall and this winter, it may actually get worse.
Could do it. Ain't no way of knowing what it's gonna do.
See, I think a lot of the theftery, if there is any theftery going on in the neighborhood around here, which I'm sure it probably is, it goes on everywhere, it's probably some of these people that's got drug problems, and they've lost their job and their unemployment's getting weak and they don't have the funds, and they'll do just about anything towards getting high, getting a buzz. But I'm like you, when there are people go to getting hungry versus people wanting a buzz, I'm pretty sure that people would do more once they get hungry, probably more so than they will towards wanting a buzz.
Yeah.
All that stuff that's going on in all these bigger cities, I think that's just the beginning flashpoint of what we're fixing to see. Regardless whether it's Chicago or Portland or New York or wherever. I mean, as things harden up, the failure of the government, it trickles down to the working man. And as the working man has no preservative to grab a hold of, kind of like a life preserver, he's liable to do anything just to survive.
Yep.
Like you said, especially if his whole family's suffering. If his whole family's suffering, there ain't no telling what he's liable to do. It'll humble some, but it will harden others.
Yeah. Well, see, I got out of school in '60. Wasn't no work here. My mama's two brothers was in Chicago and went up there and went to work. But my boss man I was working second shift, and he'd get me to stay over. Well, time we got off 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there wasn't no buses running. Couldn't get home. He said, if you'll stay and help me, I'll carry you home. And he did a bunch of times.
Really?
But talking to him, he was my daddy's age. He was born he was 10 or 11 years old before the big depression hit.
Uh-huh.
And he said, we stole to have something to eat. He said, we used to go down to a bakery and places where they would make it canning food.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't have no air conditioning back in them days.
Right.
Very little. It might have had a fan.
Right.
They'd climb up and get through the window and cuss them people to get them to throw the stuff at them where they could pick it up and carry it home with them. Yeah.
Huh.
Now, see, if it hadn't been for that, his daddy would have been working. He wouldn't have been stealing. He used to steal off the milkman. He'd catch the milkman going in and going upstairs to a house or apartment. They'd steal stuff out of his truck to have something to eat.
I'll be darned.
That's the reason I said when a man gets hungry, I don't care how good he is. When he gets hungry and his wife and kids is hungry, he'll do stuff he would never thought he'd have done.
It can make a good man go bad.
Yes, sir.
Just like a floozy, a whore, young girl. Make a good man go bad as far as girl tempting him.
Yep.
I've said all along, there ain't no telling what we'll all have faced before we leave this world.
I tell you guys, I was talking the same thing. There ain't no telling what's coming. You can't stop what's coming.
No. And all this stuff pertaining to this coronavirus, I guarantee you this stuff's real. And they've been hit super hard down there in Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and Southern California. And I'm just afraid come this fall, whenever it goes to raining and it goes to getting damp. You know, we was already a sick nation before the coronavirus ever hit, pertaining to high blood pressure, low blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, cancer, AIDS, sexual transmitted diseases,
Diabetics.
diabetics. I mean, you got kids out there now that's less than 5 years old that's swollen up like a volleyball. You know,
Yeah.
they're obese for their age and for their size. They're obese, and that shouldn't never be. And it's just we was already a sick nation before this coronavirus ever hit, which I think it's a reflection upon the first 4 chapters of Revelations, where God is speaking to the 7 churches, and He tells them to repent, 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 or else I will throw thee off into a sick bed. I will throw thee off into a sick bed, and all her churches shall know that I am He who scattered the reins in the hearts of man.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty intense, those first 4 chapters of Revelation, talking to the 7 churches. That's pretty intense. That's the reason why so many people get offended in that book of Revelations, is because the first part of it's intense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He goes on to say that I'd rather ye be hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spew thee out of thy mouth. For I have not found thy works perfect yet. Go back and do thy first works over again. I mean, it's pretty intense, those first 4 chapters of Revelations. It gets right down where the grass meets the grassy road.
Yep.
Quick.
Yeah.
Goes on to say that I will kill her children, and all her churches shall know that I am He who scattereth the reins in the hearts of man. It don't sugarcoat it, does it?
Tell it like it is.
And that's the reason why I've said that this coronavirus was released or unleashed by the devil, and God has set back now and allowed it. He has taken the umbrella of protection away from humanity, and He's letting the devil run rampant.
Yeah. I've been thinking about all this, watching the news, and hearing what's going on, like you said, these big cities and stuff. The mayors, they just stand back, tell the police, don't do nothing, let them do what they're going to do and all that. Every nation, if you read history, fell from the inside.
Oh yeah.
Just like Rome. See, they got mad at Caesar, and
Oh yeah.
all the senators put the knife to him because they didn't want to charge one guy with killing him.
Uh-huh.
So the whole bunch stabbed him, and Rome fell.
Uh-huh.
Every great nation.
Well, see, that's why they don't like Trump, bringing in these federal officers, because whenever the federal officers comes in, that upsets the apple cart. And whenever I say upsets the apple cart, you got certain districts and certain places that favor more to some people in that community than they do others. It's been going on now since the beginning of time. You got certain people up here in Union City that judge, unless they get caught red-handed towards killing somebody, you got that judge up there that will not throw the book at certain people. But then you got the judge up there that will throw the book at some people just because they so much step on a wooden nickel. Well, that's not just that way in just one county or one area. That's that way across the board. See? And whenever you bring in those federal officers, that takes that entity away, that now the mayor can't pick and choose, the judges can't pick and choose, the prosecuting attorney can't pick and choose. I mean, even your attorneys are in a lot of those judges' pockets, to the point that they all got one another's back. They know who to pick on, who not to pick on in that county.
Well, yeah.
They know who to cherry pick. That's been going on now for neons.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why that it makes it an unjust system, or that's the reason why that Trump is correct whenever he says that the system is rigged. And it is. It's rigged in that sense. Because there are certain people in certain counties that can almost get by with murder, and probably have gotten by with murder.
Yeah.
Just wasn't enough evidence to put them away. You know what I'm saying? And they wasn't going to admit that they killed that person. But just like that dog food. I mean, you think, well, that ain't going to hurt nobody. Well, Really? Somebody that's already feeble? Somebody that's already in her 70s?
They've got that place over there to themselves now.
Sure
They're
they
in
do.
the hospital.
Sure they do. Hey, don't tell them what's liable to walk away. I don't want to have no part of it.
Yeah, I ain't going over.
No. That ain't none of my business. I'm not in the old woman's will.
Yeah, I know where Ethel was raised.
You do?
Yeah.
Where was she raised at? She said right around here somewhere.
Well, you go
Less than a couple miles from here.
No, it's further than that. Her daddy was Tom Hobbs. You go through Kennon and go out across the river.
Okay.
Take the first road to the left. And then you'll come through a fork in the road. You take a left. J. Ray Hobbs and them lives down in there, the forks of the river.
Okay, I know where you're talking about.
Okay. When you go past them.
There's an Indian mound down there.
Yep. Before you get to Indian Mound, there was a house set back up in the woods, a big barn. That's all gone now. But there's a dirt road that goes up in there. That's where Tom Hobbs and them worked that land there.
Okay.
When we was kids.
All right.
Yeah, she graduated in 63 or 64. I mean 53 or 54.
Okay.
From Kenner.
All right.
See, she had a brother in my class, Charlie.
Okay.
And Tom, there's a boy named Thomas, and there's some girls, but I can't, they was younger. So
Are they still living? Are they still around here? You keep up with them or what?
Charlie, I talked to him a couple of years ago. I leave time to time, but he was living in Marion, Illinois. Charlie was at the time. I'm sure he's still there because he's been there a long time.
Right.
And I don't know about the other kids because when we was in the 12th grade, so he went to school all them years.
That's the Macedonian community, isn't it?
Yeah,
Over there that you're talking about?
yeah.
Yeah. Over there where the Hobbses are?
They moved to Palmersville. His daddy, I guess, I don't know if he bought a place up there or rented a place or what, but they moved up there and he went to school the biggest part of the 12th grade, but he come back down here to Kenton and graduated with us. Because he went to school down here from the time he started till they moved up there.
I see.
Yeah, Ethel's got at least 2 brothers and at least 2 sisters that I know about. But I can't tell you the other, Charlie can't be in a class. That name ain't, I kept it in
Well,
my
like
head.
I
but the
said,
others I can't.
I may have known her years and years ago. I may have got introduced to her and her family when my grandmother was still living over here. But God, that's been so long. And if they've been living up in Chicago for that length of time and then they've just recently moved back in the 90s, the late 90s, I don't guess I never knowed her. Or knowed her daughters, as far as that goes. I'm sure her daughters went to school in Chicago.
Yeah, they lived up there.
Yeah,
They was grown. I'm sure they was grown when they come back down here.
sure,
And girls was.
sure. They all went to school up there in Chicago somewhere.
They lived at Rockford, out west of Chicago.
That's there by O'Hara.
Yeah,
That's a ritzy place.
Huh?
Oh, that's a ritzy place. Rockford is.
I don't know nothing about it. I've been by there on the highway.
Yeah,
back when I lived in
There's
Chicago.
some well-to-do people live up in there.
But see, when Goodyear started over here, they sent a bunch of boys off. That's where they went, because Keeley Tires belongs to Goodyear, and they sent them to a Keeley plant up there at Rockford
Okay.
to take the training to help get this place started.
Really?
Yeah, back in '60.
Well, I'm just afraid from what I'm looking at and from what I'm hearing about, the good old USA may be fixing to wind up going through a bad test.
Yeah, people want to do away with the police. Somebody's indoctrinated them.
Oh yeah,
A man with good sense knows better than that.
that's the worst thing
Them
to
people
do.
has got good sense too. They just been indoctrinated.
That's
with
the
some
worst thing to do.
shit. Oh yeah.
Like I said, the reason why that these mayors and stuff and judges is kicking up congressmen, representatives, is because whenever the feds come in there, that breaks their old rules, that breaks their old way of doing things. In other words, everybody then's got to play by the book, and they don't like that because they got their favorites.
Yeah.
You take Mike Wilson, that's been in power in Weakley County on 9 different terms, 27 years. Do you not think he's got his favorites in Weakley County? His clonies? Sure he does.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what's going on in that county and who's doing what and where they're at and who's making the money and who ain't making the money.
Yep.
Dog acting weird, ain't he? Dog acting very spooky, ain't he?
These old trucks that come through here rattling and carrying on, he barks at them.
Well,
Did he bark when you drove up?
no,
See?
not a word.
You come up in the yard, he didn't bark. But these old trucks, there's 2 or 3 old pickup trucks that come back here puddle looking along, and he'll bark at them, or motorcycles, or that little 4-wheelers or stuff.
Well, I'm just letting you know that just me sitting up there in that church caused enough interest that somebody contacted the police on me after I was out here talking to you about sausage. Yeah. So something's going on back over here. I don't know what it is, but I thought out of me being a good Samaritan, I'd come down here and let you know that, and of course, anytime you got a boatload of money, you're going to have
Boatload of friends.
a boatload of friends.
So-called friends.
So-called friends. And I'm pretty sure that's what Miss Ethel's seeing, and she was trying to give me hints or signals about her son-in-law. And of course, like I said, the police backed it up. They confirmed it. Said, yeah, we've been out here twice, and they're in the process right now of getting some sort of a restraining order so they can get him out of there. And then that night she winds up falling because of dog food. See what I'm saying? Something don't
add up.
Something, well, it adds up all right, but it adds up the wrong way towards some bogus stuff going on. In other words, they may have meant for that little fall intentionally to have been more severe other than just breaking a hip. And she could still wind up dying because of it. Could set up infection, the next thing you know, die over something like that.
Yeah.
And if she dies, and if they do find out that it was intentional, then that's murder, isn't it?
Yep.
That's murder. Especially if you've done what you've done intentionally so that somebody would get hurt or get killed. That's murder.
It ought to be. It ought to be.
They was taking them guys up there in Portland, Oregon and throwing them in jail because what they was doing was taking a water bottle and filling it about 80% full of water and freezing it. And taking that water bottle and throwing it at those cops in the head. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, if you throw one hard enough, like a daggum brick bat.
They don't brick bat.
Huh?
There was a guy who brought boxes of brick bats because they took the top off and started passing them out.
Really?
Sold the brick bats. Yeah. They was throwing them at the cops.
But I mean, you can kill somebody with just about anything. A chunk of ice if it hits you just right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Lord, Lord, Lord.
Oh, Pelosi said, well, people are going to do what they're going to do.
Well, they may do it, but that don't mean that they're not going to suffer the consequences for doing it neither.
That's right.
Especially if you're breaking the law.
The mayor and the people in charge out there, mayor and every other guy, when they get this people out of here and settled up, people ought to sue them. You're going to pay You let them burn my place down, you let the police wouldn't stop them. Pay me for what, put me back in business.
You know, under every insurance clause, if we're ever attacked by or involved in a war, did you know underneath your insurance clause, if your house gets blown up, the insurance company don't have to pay to have your house rebuilt?
Probably not. In an act of war, you probably can't get insurance on it. I don't know about that rioting. They ain't protesting, they rioting.
Well, I'm just wondering if protesting like that wouldn't fit under the same guidelines as a war, to the degree that the insurance companies
could say they ain't protesting, they're rioting.
That's right. There's a difference in protesting and rioting.
That's right. People that's what they call peaceful protesting, they don't bother nothing.
That's
They might
right.
hoop and holler and yell or something, toting
Right.
signs,
Right.
but they ain't burning or tearing up.
Right.
Taking a pole or something and knocking the windows out of stores and going there and stealing everything they can.
That's what they don't understand. There's a difference between rioting and protesting. And whenever I'm not going to be with a bunch. If I'm in a car and somebody gets out here and starts tearing up signs or doing something that they ought not be doing, I'm going to tell them to take me home. And if it gets that bad, just let me out. Because if I don't do that, then the next thing you know, I'm an accessory to what they're doing. And I'm just as guilty as they are.
They look at you like you're guilty if you didn't do nothing.
That's it. You're guilty by association. Well, I thought I'd let you know that about